Hello, Football for Kids listeners. You may have noticed last week there wasn't an episode on the podcast. There's two reasons for that. Number one is there's been loads of new stuff released recently, and I wanted to give you the opportunity to catch up and listen to all the episodes. So hopefully you've had a chance to listen to everything which has been released in the last couple of weeks or so. Also, I was very busy working on something very exciting. And I'm very pleased and proud to tell you that the Football for Kids podcast at the end of this year will be available on all British Airways planes which have in-flight entertainment systems. So if you're going on your holidays, or you know someone going on their holidays, if you fly British Airways, you'll be able to listen to the podcast on the plane. Right, that's enough of that stuff. Let's get on with this episode, shall we? Welcome to the Football for Kids podcast with me, Darren Rees. In this episode, we're going to be talking about the magnificent Declan Rice. But before we do that, we need to do some of your shout-outs and your messages. And the first one says, "Hello Darren, please can you do an episode on Thierry Henry and Zinedine Zidane please? Also, can you do a shout out to my family? My mum's name is Sue and my dad is Sean and my sister is Freda. And I love your podcast. We are from Canada and we live in Amman, Jordan. I love listening to your podcast with my sister. I play football for my club, FISA, and also in my backyard whenever I can. And that is from Henry." Well, a massive shout out to you, Henry. Thank you so much for being a listener and thank you for your message. I'm really glad that you enjoyed the podcast, listening with your sister, and I hope that you're really enjoying your football as well. Keep practicing, keep going at it, and keep improving. And the next one says, "Hi Darren, my name is Louis and I'm 5 years old. I like listening to your football podcast every single night. Could you please do a podcast on football stadiums and give a shout out to my favourite team, Arsenal? Thanks, from Louis Day." Well, Louis, a massive shout out to you. Thank you for your message and thank you for being a listener. I love the idea of doing more episodes on football stadiums. That is a cracker. So we're going to stick more football stadiums onto the very long list of episodes which I need to write. And of course, a big shout out to your football team, Arsenal, and everyone else who supports the mighty Gunners. Thanks, Louis. The next one says, "Hi Darren, my name is Finley. I'm 7 years old. I love Arsenal and so does the rest of my family. Dad, Mum and brother Patrick and sister Marnie. We love listening to your podcast at breakfast time and in the car. I play for my village team, Houston United 2015. Please can you do a shout out for them? My favourite player is Gabriel Martinelli, so please can you do a podcast about him? Thanks, from Finley." Well, Finley, a massive shout out to you and to everybody in your family. I'm really glad that the podcast is being enjoyed while you're all eating your breakfast, and hopefully you'll enjoy this episode as well. A massive shout out to your team, all of your teammates, and everybody that you play football with. And the last one says, "Hi Darren, my name is Harris Brown and I'm 10 years old and I support Rangers FC. I play for Swifts FC in Fife. Can you please do an episode on Scotland or the SPFL? I love listening to your podcast and I listen to it every single night. I would like to do a shout out to my friends Leo, Cole, Rory and Oscar." And that is from Harris, who finishes his message with an almighty, a humongous, a gigantic Woo! That was a big one, Harris. Thank you very much for being a listener. A massive shout out to you and all of your friends that you play football with and everybody else who you listen to the podcast with. I really hope that you enjoy this episode and all the other ones which we've got coming up. Right, that's all we've got time for in terms of shout-outs on this episode. If you'd like to get a shout-out in to your football team, your teammates, or whoever it is, you can ask an adult to send an email to footballforkidspodcast@gmail.com. Right, it's time to get into the episode about the truly brilliant Declan Rice. Declan Rice was born on the 14th of January in 1999 in Kingston upon Thames. Although Declan grew up in England, he had some Irish roots which he would soon follow later on in his football career. His grandparents were from County Cork in Ireland. Declan Rice loved his football when he was growing up and was described as one of the most determined individuals some people had ever met. He knew what he wanted and he would work his socks off to get it. Declan would play football at a local recreation ground, which had a massive park and football area. He used to play football in the cage there. Any opportunity that he had to play football, he would be there. Dec remembers saying to his mum in the mornings, "When you pick me up from school, please can you bring my clothes so I can go straight to play football?" Playing so much football with his friends and constantly practice made him such a good player. And at the age of 8, Declan was enrolled into the Chelsea Academy, where he made a lifelong friend in Mason Mount. Declan demonstrated his exceptional abilities and potential, and ended up becoming a captain of one of the teams. Around 7 years later, it was time for a new chapter in the Declan Rice story, as he was released by Chelsea. A tough time for him, where he had to pull himself together and stay focused. The next chapter started when his dad took him to a training session at West Ham. Declan trained with the under-14 squad, and the West Ham coaching squad were seriously impressed with him. So much so that after just one training session, the head scout for West Ham pulled his dad to the side for a chat and said, "Yeah, he's good. We want to sign him." And that was that. When Declan joined West Ham at the Youth Academy, one of the coaches at the Youth Academy said that Rice was just so likeable. He was hilarious when he started. He said it was only 2 weeks and he was doing impressions of him and making everybody laugh. But not only was he funny and had a great personality, but he had bags of ability. He was one of the most determined kids he'd ever seen play football, and his mindset, well, it was super special. Declan was physically and mentally a very strong player. Ever since a young lad, Dec was always known for taking his training very seriously. He knew how to have a laugh, but he also showed a lot of respect to the coaches and his other teammates, and he gave it everything he had in every single session. Dec's attitude has taken him all the way to being one of the best midfielders in the Premier League. West Ham legend Mark Noble has memories of going to watch one of the Youth Academy games when Declan was playing. He was about 15 years old, and Mark quickly picked him out as one of the very good players, who could use both of his feet and had a great footballing brain. One thing which is really important to understand though, with football, is how tough the competition is. Between all of the players coming up, the standard of the football in a club like West Ham or any other Premier League club is quite something. And at one point, Rice nearly got let go from West Ham as well. But some of the other coaches spoke up and said that they believed in him, and because of that, he ended up staying. It wasn't an easy ride though. Declan Rice stuck with West Ham, giving it his all, and on the last day of the 2017 season against Burnley, he made his senior team professional debut, coming on as a substitute in the 91st minute. Although he was only on the pitch for a few moments, it was an extremely special moment, and Declan said he felt like he was at home. After his brief appearance, Rice proved his worth to the manager and the coaching staff by playing almost every game in the following seasons. He was a force to be reckoned with on the pitch, fiercely taking players out and winning the ball back for the Hammers. As a result, he won the Young Player of the Year award 3 years in a row, and eventually earned the title of overall West Ham Player of the Year in 3 different seasons. Declan Rice has had some journey as a club footballer and been through some tough times, but he stuck it out and has played well over 200 games for the mighty Hammers, and at just 24 years old, he's become a bit of a club legend. Regarding his international football career, Rice has represented 2 countries. He played for the Republic of Ireland, starting from the under-16s, making it all the way up to the senior team. And in 2019, he decided to switch over and play for the Three Lions. Declan said that the most challenging moment in his football career so far was losing the Euro final to Italy at Wembley Stadium. The intense pain and feeling of disappointment lingered for a long time. It was a really tough one to take for him and all of the players. Declan Rice has become one of the most well-liked and respected players the country has seen. His passion and enthusiasm for football is noticeable, and the time and effort he puts in for his fans and supporters brings him a lot of love. So at just 24 years old, I think it's fair to say he's got several years left of top quality football left in him, and will probably need to do a part 2 in a few years' time. Declan Rice is proof that if you love something and you give it your all, you can do it. You'll face tough times along the way, but you've just got to keep going. I hope that you've enjoyed listening and learning about the wonderful career and story about Declan Rice so far. And remember, if you know someone who loves football just as much as you do, then please tell them about Football for Kids. And whether you're playing football soon, watching it on the telly or pitchside, I hope that you enjoy the game. See you next time.